All right. Welcome everyone to the first installment of the customer feature requests and new releases as well. So my name's Matt. I'm your customer success manager here at Kolleno, and I'll just be admitting people into the background and make sure everybody's on mute. But please, if we could just keep the questions to the end. If What I'll be doing is monitoring the chat as well, so everybody can have access to a question, and I've got some great minds on the call to assist. So I'll be doing my best just to keep on top of that as well, but I'll be sharing as I go. Excuse my croaky voice. I've had a bit of a head cold lately, so I'll be doing my best not to cough and to get through this scot-free. Again, please use the questions or the chat box to ask anything, and we'll get to that at the end as well. I'm sure there'll be some stuff that I'll be talking about that will really pique your interest, but if you can just refrain, we'll do that at the end. That'll be fantastic. So thank you. Also, this is recorded, so if you have any colleagues that can't come, not to worry. I'll send this recording afterwards, and I'll also send the slides as well, PDF. So there'll be links in there as well, not to worry. Everything will be recorded, and you can rewatch at a later date if needed. What I'm going to do is just jump in and start sharing.
If I were you, I would just
Make sure that I'm
do what
going
they're
to
asking to get it.
pause everybody or mute everybody in the background there. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way through this, and thank you all for joining once more. Now, if I can have your attention for about 30 minutes, it's going to be some important things I want to run through. And I know that this will be really advantageous to everybody on the call because we've got some great minds at Kolleno, and I've been compiling all that data that I've been speaking to everybody with lately, and I hope to give that back to you here now. On the call, we also have Ron with us. He'll be sitting in the background, and I'll call on him when relevant. He's our technical engineer, and he's fantastic with all the knowledge of Kolleno, so he can assist me with any more further detailed questions if they arise. But hopefully you've all met me. If we haven't, my name's Matt. I'm a success manager, and we're responsible for making everybody happy at Kolleno. So that's the idea. I'm here to make you all happy with what we're going to be working on together. And sorry, I'm just in the background and meeting some extra people, so excuse me while I do that. And again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Got a lot of people in the call, which is great. Okay. Brilliant. So there's four things I wanted to focus on today. Product updates. We got some amazing new ones as well. Some from last month, some from this month already, and even one from today. So our tech team is brilliant. They're on top of that, giving some really good new pieces of software updates as well. Pro tips, so things that I've picked up from our other customers and things that I recommend that you use Kolleno for on a daily basis, and all the tips and tricks. Hidden gems. Now, there's one thing I really want to focus on there, and I'll show you that a little bit later as well. So again, I'll just be working my way through these. And then Q&A. So again, at the end, making sure that I answer as many questions as I can. We've got 45 minutes here, but I'm trying to be concise and keep to the time. If I can't get to all your questions now, I will get back to them afterwards as well. So there will be a way in which I can collate those and get back to you. So don't worry, that's totally fine. Okay, so the latest product updates. This is the link, but I'm going to share from where it is on the website and show you exactly how to get there. So don't worry if you can't remember what this link is, you'll be provided it at the end as well. So here is the Kolleno 2.0 latest updates here. Now, to find this, it's just kolleno.com, and up the top, we've got resources, product updates. So that's how we get into those there. What I'm going to do is work my way down through this list, and then I've got a few more things that I can show you that actually haven't been released as such or written down, but have been released just recently, so I can go work my way through that. So we've introduced Kolleno AI Copilot. Now, anybody that I've been on a call with in the last week or two, I would have drawn your attention to this, but most users hopefully have seen it. So what it is in the platform, we can actually utilize that on the right-hand side within a customer hub, and we can ask questions. So it's really, really cool. I'll show you what that looks like, and what I might be doing is just moving between screens so we can show these in real time. And what I'll do is I'll jump in there in just a moment. But one other thing, we have this, which is the weekly, or rather the monthly product update email. Now, everyone should be receiving this, and what it is just a collation of everything that's come out that's new in Kolleno. So just a reminder, that's what you will see at the end of the month. And this is what this video is encapsulating. We're going to cover all these in depth, show you what they look like and how they can be used. Okay. Now, before I even log into Kolleno, I wanted to show you a new release that's just happened. Now, if you're a NetSuite user, down the bottom here, you can actually click sign in with NetSuite. So that's a new feature we've got as of quite recently as well. What I'm going to do is use this my one password. I'm just going to log in here quickly. And I'm going to show you how that Copilot works. So if I come into a customer, I'm just going to choose my first one here. I'm just going to minimize my zoom, get that out of the way. On the right-hand side here, we've got this Kolleno AI Copilot. So I can ask it a question, for example, like summarize this account for me. What it'll do is it'll give me a pre-prepared answer. No, it won't. It'll give me an actual answer based off what I've just typed in there. So if I wanted to summarize something to do with maybe notes, or if I've got a long timeline in here, maybe I've got heaps of emails, heaps of credit notes, or there's lots of information. I just want to get a snapshot of what's going on. I can ask that question there. And what it's done is it's summarized this for me neatly on the right-hand side. So payment delays, any disputes on invoices, acknowledgement of the invoices, etc. And I can continue to ask away, and it will continue to give me those questions as well, which is fantastic. So that's the first point I wanted to run through here on our feature updates. Let's go back and have a look at what else we've got. So reporting. We've added a few new columns in our reports. Now, if you're familiar or if you're an admin user, you can see the reports on the left-hand side. It's just one of the tabs within Kolleno. And then within all reports, we've got the account owner. So for any given customer is returned in the column owner in all relevant reports. So we've got an additional column there. Detailed aging, new columns. So there's new columns called has card detail and has direct debit detail as well. So just more information within that report as well. Payments received. Now, this existing report returns payments coming up from your ERP. So 3 new columns have been added: provider, PSP reference, and initiated by. So that's really helpful in there as well. And I can show you just quickly where that looks like. Back in Kolleno, reports on the left, and that was in payments on the right-hand side here, payments and collections. So if I click into there, we've got a multitude of reports you can see. Okay. Moving down to NetSuite now. Again, I've got Ron on the call who's very proficient with NetSuite, but I'm going to go through this and call on him if needed. But we're excited to announce a new feature for NetSuite journal entries in Kolleno. So, for example, the accounts receivable, these entries will seamlessly reflect in Kolleno, providing you with more comprehensive financial overview. Within the Customer Hub, you'll find journal entries displayed conveniently on the right-hand side, giving you quick access to crucial financial data. Okay, so there's a little bit there. Now, Ron, I'm just going to call on you if necessary. Have I covered everything related to this NetSuite new release, or is there anything more you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, that's great. The only thing that we need to activate that on demand. Not all NetSuite users want that. So please let us know if you want this to be activated. Then it focuses like on the screenshot for accounts receivable ones.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ron. Excel support in the text editor. Now, this is pretty neat because you can copy tables directly from your Excel into a Kolleno email, for example. As you can see from this screenshot here, it's going to provide the correct formatting that your relevant table would have been in your Excel straight into Kolleno, which is fantastic. So again, transfers your tables, the structure, alignment, and appearance. And hopefully anyone who uses that takes advantage of that one because that's a pretty great new feature. Customer portal, credit notes, and payments. And allows your customers to view a list of credit notes and payments related to them. So previously, you could see your invoices and payment methods, and you've now got the credit notes and the payments tabs in here as well. Perfect. Bank accounts to instantly reflect changes in your bank account's list of transactions. So we've got a manual synchronization now. So to navigate, we'll go into the reconciliation tab and the synchronize now. So let me show you what that looks like. Again, in Kolleno, left-hand side, reconciliation. I can choose any one of my bank accounts, for example. I'm just going to choose this one. And what I can see here is this reconciliate synchronize now button up the top here, which I can quickly allocate or access if I need. Now, let me just make sure I've covered all of that. This feature ensures your bank account data is always up to date within Kolleno, helping you stay on top of your finances with ease. Fantastic. Now, again, we've got This link I will provide to you so you can find all the additional Help Center article links in there as well related to each of these sections. Payment methods with source and date synchronization. So in the Customer Hub again, Kolleno provides more information on the source of those, for example, your payment providers such as Stripe or Go Cardless. So let me show you where you can find that. What I'm going to do is just jump into my other account, come across here to customers, choose this first one here, configuration and payment methods. So we've got some quite new or enhanced details about all those payment methods in there as well, which you can see at the bottom. I've got Stripe and I've got Go Cardless. Brilliant. Promise to pay, select invoices. Okay, this is one I've actually seen someone use recently, which is fantastic. So when creating a promise to pay from an email or a text message, you have the flexibility to add or remove invoices as needed. So you're no longer required to include all the invoices related to the communication on the promise to pay. Now let's go through that together. What I like to do is within a timeline, again, I mentioned if you've got a lot of data in there, you can use this filter button. And there's one other thing I'm going to show you a little bit later on, which is another new release, but I'm just going to hide that till the end. Come in here and I like to filter by, for example, a particular thing I'm looking for. So outbound emails, for example, this top one might have had the promise to pay on it. What I can do is click the three dots, promise to pay, select the relevant day. Let's say it was Friday. Now I can choose my respective invoices. Now this is just demo data, so you're going to see a few zeros there, but that's not to worry. So let's go. That's the one there. So Matt promised. All right, I'm looking to spell it. Right, there you go. Matt promised, and I can save that there. So that's how you can utilize that new feature. All right. Show workflow name in the timeline. This is great. So I'm going to dive more into detail with this later on because this is one of my hidden gems I think is really important, but I'm just going to cover it briefly now. If, for example, you're going through a customer, they're getting automated emails within a workflow, you can find exactly on the timeline where that email came from within the workflow. Now, I was almost on that page just a moment ago, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's any one of these highlighted yellow tabs. I can click straight into the workflow from this. I'm going to use it in an example a bit later on, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll come back to this because it's actually really, really, really valuable. Okay, the last two on this list of most recent releases. QuickBooks late failure from Go Cardless. So Kolleno has enhanced the system to manage late payment failures with Go Cardless, ensuring your QuickBooks data stays accurate. When a late payment failure occurs, Kolleno will automatically adjust QuickBooks by either voiding the payment or updating the deposit accordingly. And again, we've got some more details about that in our Help Center, which is linked directly in this as well. Again, you'll get this at the end, so don't worry. Custom DNS email as bounced/complaint. Now, if an email sent via custom DNS is not delivered to the recipient due to a bounce or a complaint, for example, they manually flag it as a negative in their system, Kolleno will notify you of this event by displaying the information on the customer's timeline. I'll dive into that example shortly as well, and I'll show you where you can find that in your customer timeline. All right, brilliant. Now, those are the main points I wanted to cover from the most recent releases. We've got some more that I'm going to show in a moment. But Ron, before I take the next step, is there anything else on here that you would like to elaborate on, or am I okay to move on?
All good. Let's continue.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, now let's have a little bit more fun. So what I've got here, I've already shown you how you can sign in with NetSuite through logging in, which is great. Now I've got a little list with me here of things I wanted to show you as well whilst we go through. So the dashboard, excuse me. Okay, so on the dashboard, you can see this is now the net balance in the top left-hand side. So it used to be the total outstanding balance, but now we've got the net balance. So the net balance is calculated by invoices due plus invoices overdue, less credit notes unapplied, less prepayments, less overpayments, plus the journal entries. So we've got a support article about where those figures are calculated from as well. Okay, now we got another really good one. Multiple email profiles to send. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my settings, come across here to my emails, And now I can see I've got multiple email inboxes. So I've got my default one here, but I can add other ones as well. So if you've got multiple emails that you send and receive from, you can connect them here within Kolleno quite quickly, which is fantastic. So that's another new feature that's come out recently. Okay, now search in the unassigned communications. Now you might have seen this because what I recommend we all do, if I've had a training with you recently, I would have mentioned in the collector tasks, the very first thing that I recommend, and also the feedback I've had from our brilliant customers, is this one here, clicking on the unassigned communications first. So if I click into this, I can see that I had 10 unassigned communications. For whatever reason, they're not being allocated to a customer. So what I'm going to do is choose the respective one from the top. And what you can see is it's actually prompting me using AI where it thinks this email could go to. So what it's done is it's picked up from the wording here in the email. Invoice 832 was paid to this customer. It's only a partial customer name, but it knows it's actually going to Crownville Hotels, and this is the invoice it's allocated to. And again, if I hover over the invoice, we get a little bit more data related to that invoice, so the balance and the date due as well. So I can confirm that straight away, or for whatever reason, it's for a different customer, I can search for that customer up the top, confirm it, and then move on. So that's a really important new piece of, a new feature there. That's really quite cool. Ron, is there anything else you'd like to cover on this point, or is that everything?
Yes, once you allocate an email that you've received to a customer, the system will remember later on. So if you receive a new email from that email address, the system will know.
Brilliant. Okay, so the system remembers. Thank you, Ron. All right, let's go back to the customer timeline. Now, I was almost showing you something earlier when I was clicking on the filters, but what I wanted to show you was next to the filters, we've got this search bar here. So you can actually search through the list on the timeline. You don't have to use the filter. You don't have to scroll. You can search straight away, which is really helpful. So that's another new thing there. Okay, now creating an email as well. I mean, there's so many new little things that are coming up. Some of them are coming up so recently. One was actually released today. So if I click action, email on the right-hand side, and maybe I want to add a template. So I've got a lot of templates. I might have like 50 different templates. Instead of trying to scroll and find the right one, I can just search for that name in the top left-hand side when sending an email now. So that can be helpful for any accounts that have quite a lot of communication pieces for their customers. Brilliant. Just going to discard that one. All right. While we're on the email trail, why don't we have a look at using AI to reply to an email that I've received? So again, I'm going to filter for an email. Maybe let's just do an inbound one, for example. Use a different filter. Wonder if I've got any. No, that's fine. We'll stick to multiple. I might reply to this one. On the left-hand side here, I've got this AI reply. So if I hit that, it'll generate a message for me. And that's to do with either if it's the most recent email I'm replying to, or if it's from an email thread as well. It'll identify what I'm emailing and generate a response accordingly, which is fantastic. Again, you can utilize the whole thing, or you can add that in, make your adjustments so it sounds and feels a little bit like it was from you. But that's just another really helpful tool there. Okay, we've got the customer payments tab. Right, so if I click across here to the payments tab, what we can see a little bit more detail around if a payment failed, for example, the date that it failed. So this one here, we've got the failure date and the date trigger as well on the left-hand side. So that's a little bit more visibility on this page as well, which is really helpful. Let me just make sure we've got, if I scroll a little bit to the right, we've got another extra section there. So I'm just going to make sure my screen's enlarged. Okay. Now, one other thing, Kolleno stopped creating notifications in the task manager for successful payments because we all like successful payments, but imagine if we got like 100 every day, that'd be a lot of notifications. So we've turned that off. If you would like to continue to receive those, just let us know. We can turn that back on for you. But personally, I like quite a low number of emails in my inbox. But it does make you feel quite busy though if you do get lots of emails like that. All right, let's work through the pro tips. So I talk to a lot of our customers regularly and I pick up some really great things from them. What I tend to do is ask, what are you using the dashboard for? What are your favorite features? What do you do on a day-to-day basis that it could be helpful for others. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of those things I've picked up from other users. And also you can find most of the things that I'm hearing from users is what I'll do is I'll create an article and I'll add that to the help center. So it's helpful for everybody else going forward. Let me show you how you can find the help center quite quickly from within your Kolleno account. Bottom left-hand side, you've got your name. You can click Help Center on the left. And one other thing, if there's something in Kolleno that isn't there that you would like to see, you can submit a feature request and we can send you a quote for that work going forward as well. So if there's something you'd like, you can let us know and then we can quote you for that as well. All right. So what I'm going to do here is show you some stuff on the dashboard. Now, the dashboard's pretty integral and I've had nothing but fantastic feedback about how it looks, which is great. It's going to continue to get better as well. But one thing I wanted to point out straight away are these different buckets or columns. Now, if I ever come in here and see an orange column, it's just a bit of a flag for me to have a closer look. Now, for example, I can see that there's plenty that have been contacted. There's some promise to pays, but there's also one that's not contacted. So what is that? If I hover over the respective orange column, click on it, it gives me a breakdown of the invoice or multiple invoices that I need to make sure I am contacting. Now, there might be a reason why you're not. So again, just something to be aware of, but this one might have just slipped through the cracks. So you need to make sure that this is in a particular workflow, or why is this one not being chased when it really should be? So a really good little tip there. Another thing that I've come to find out our users absolutely love, if I scroll down, we've got this top 10 debtors, which is great. That's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Now, one time, if I ever do see, for example, something switched off, like let's say this one was not being chased, I'd say, I wonder why that is, because there's not a promise to pay on there. Again, maybe if you're using teams from across different areas or multiple people using Kolleno, you just got to have good communication about what's going on. So that one there might well have needed to be chased. So again, just a little proof. But coming down towards the bottom, customers balance not in any workflows. Now, for example, why on earth aren't my customers in a workflow that should be potentially? So I want to just double check it. Again, this is just demo data, so don't take it too much into it. But what I recommend, clicking View Invoices on the right-hand side, it will then pull up a list of invoices, almost the same as how we saw with the orange column earlier with invoices not chased. Just communicating here, having a look at, are any of these actually being chased, or why aren't they rather being chased? Why aren't they in a workflow? I need to make sure that I'm on top of that. So what I like to do personally, or what I've seen some of our other users do, is filter by days high to low. Now, some of these quite old, they're being partially paid or installments, or maybe we just can never get a hold of this customer, so we might write that off. Whatever it might be, this is another really helpful tip to be aware of when looking on your dashboard, that one there. Okay, one final thing. Actually, I know that the person who is on the call with us today, I won't name names, but this is one, I got some fantastic feedback the other day. If you're coming in here and seeing any undelivered, that's like the first thing they like to look at. Just making sure any emails that were sent landed. And if they didn't, why didn't they? So clicking in, checking these 6, making sure that they have the correct contact details, the emails correct, and then actioning that accordingly as well. So this is a really helpful tip on your dashboard to make sure you're coming in and actioning those on a daily basis. Okay, that was the additional tips from the dashboard that I've picked up from our users that I recommend. And what I'm going to do now is show you that workflow tip that I recommend is just a really helpful thing when coming into using Kolleno and diagnosing anything that within your workflows. Let me show you. Let's go back into that customer we saw before. Happens to be this top one here. And again, I'm going to filter by outbound emails. I can see all my automatic ones here. Straight away, customers that are in, this one's in a statement of accounts workflow. They might be in another one like a due workflow. And this is the example I wanted to bring up. What, for whatever reason, maybe this one should have been contacted more recently. This is way back in March. Now, let me just have a look here and diagnose this myself. I'm going to click in to the workflow, and I'm just going to have a look to see what stage of the workflow it's at. Okay, it's at email number 1, and then 3 days after, there was going to be another email. So what I'm going to do is make sure that that customer meets the criteria for this workflow, and I'm going to self-diagnose if something maybe didn't happen that I expected to. So what I recommend doing straight away is having a look at the filters that are being used within the workflow. So customer chasing pause does not equal true, and the balance is greater than 0. So personally, I like to just come in here and use these filters within the customer. Straight away, I'm going to have a look at balance is greater than 0. And then I'm going to add chasing for the customer equals false. So they're not being chased. So making sure that that customer crown view, okay, look, there they are. So that's good. They've met that criteria. Now what I'm going to do is just have a look back into the workflow. Invoice balance. Now we're looking at the second half, the specific target of the invoices. Invoice balance greater than 0. Invoice status is one of open or partially paid. Invoice chasing equals false. Invoice days overdue equals less than 0, -7. So what I'm going to do again, come back into the invoices here, and I'm going to filter for that. So it's invoice balance was greater than 0. And then there was also status. Invoice status is one of open, partially paid. What else was there? There was paused. Invoice chasing paused equals false. And then there was also another field. I think it was due -7 days. But let's just use this as an example for now. I'm going to put that filter on. And if my customer, their invoice that I'm looking for specifically doesn't meet this field, then I'm going to make sure that why aren't they in the workflow? That's a little bit of proofing from my side. I like to just check that my customers are meeting the workflow criteria. And if they're not, then we need to make sure that they're in there. So that's just a little bit of a work backwards using that workflow tab, making sure your customers and your invoices are meeting the criteria for the respective workflow. That's a little hidden gem I've come to find. So if you ever do think, why did that email not go to that customer? Let's work back. Try and self-diagnose before reaching out. But again, we are really happy to help as well. And what you can do is you can find us at support@kolleno.com. Now, if you email me directly without CCing this, I might be in another meeting, I might be out of the office, I might be helping somebody else, and I want to make sure that you're looked after quickly. So if you CC support@kolleno.com, someone else in the team, if I'm away, can help you. So that's the goal. Making sure that we're able to get back to you using that email there. Again, I recommend first point of call, having a look at the Help Center. Help Center is great. There's some really good resources in there. Ron and myself write a lot of content. We add that in there. And the idea is that every time I receive questions from customers, I'm going to write an article about that for how to address it so you can help self-diagnose. Then if you need to, you can email the support. And if it needs to be escalated further, I'm happy to jump in as well. So that's the process that we recommend there. We'll go through the questions in a moment, but I've had some really great feedback. And again, some of the people who are on this call actually said some of these quotes, like, I love the new dashboard. Every time I look, I discover something else. For the first time ever, I have 0 emails in my inbox. The potential Kolleno can do has totally blown my mind. And old debtors are a key focus, and Kolleno has been a big help with that. This is the best our debtors have ever looked. So that's fantastic. Really, really exciting. Great news. Thank you, everybody, for your kind words. Now, I'm going to have a look in the chat. That's what I wanted to cover today. All the areas of the new releases, how to request any features yourself, how to use the support, how to be in touch with us, and all the key tips of the platform as well. But I'm going to check the chat, make sure there's any questions that I haven't missed and anything that needs asking. Now, I know that you all have the ability to actually talk on this call as well. But what I think would be beneficial is if you type your questions into the chat, because then myself and Ron can jump in and answer them as well. I just don't want people talking over each other. That's the only thing I'm a little bit aware of. But that's coming to the conclusion for me. 30 minutes on the dot. So that's great. That was the idea, just to try and capture that in that time frame. If you need to go, please do, if you don't have any questions, and join us again same time next month. Again, this will be on a monthly basis. I'll be going through the most recent releases and anything that's come through in the most recent week or two. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Do reach out to me if you'd like to have a meeting if we aren't already in the diary. Again, using that support email is really helpful, but I'll send the recording and the PDF of this to you afterwards so you can share it with your colleagues if necessary. But again, look out for that email that comes at the end of the month. It's got everything synchronized on there as well, which is really helpful. Okay, I'm going to hang around for the next 5 minutes with Ron in the background. If anyone would like to ask questions in the chat, please go ahead and do so. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed any because I can't see any in there, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Hopefully it went well and everything you needed to hear you saw. But I'll be online for the next 5 minutes, so appreciate your time, everybody. Okay, I've got a question in here. Thank you for that kind comment, Evie. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Good question here from Sharon. Is credit now in the payment portal? Now, I think you might have to elaborate a little bit more on that one for me, Sharon, if you wouldn't mind. Unless,
Yes, if it's the credit note, so you can go into your settings customer portal, and then you have a checkbox to make credit notes and payments available as tabs on the customer payment portal for your customers to see. And what will come as a next step, you will have another setting that you will be able to let your customers apply the unapplied credit notes and the prepayment, overpayment as they want. So as a first step now, you can just show them that information so they can see and download the credit notes, etc.
nice. Thank you so much, Ron. That's another perk of having Ron in the calls. Thank you for that question, Sharon. Appreciate that. And thanks for answering that question, Ron. Again, we'll hang on for the next minute or two. If there's any more questions that need to come in and answer, we'll be happy to do so. Otherwise, we'll give you some time back in your day, but we'll hang around for the next minute or two. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate it. Nice question. Thank you. Okay. I'm surprised every time I talk to you all, you're all so chatty. So hopefully everything was answered and we're all good. What I'll do is I'll wrap this up, I'll stop the recording, and then we'll see you all at the next one, hopefully. Okay. Stop sharing and stop recording. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. See ya.